All right, game number one down. And Juves, we're a little worried about whether or not Legacy would be a bit rusty, having not played as much as Order over the last week. But if anything, they look well rested.
I mean, generally speaking, the team that plays first in the playoffs, and I call it a gauntlet. It's not a gauntlet, but in the gauntlet, they generally pop off. They usually run it the whole way and ultimately fall short at the end. And I thought that's what we would see from Order. I thought we would see Order, shake those cobwebs off, but it really feels like they picked up where they left off yesterday. They had a pretty miserable bot lane experience, right? And that it was self-inflicted. It was a pure 2v2. I would say Isles and Raze are probably the strongest 2v2 that's left in this kind of, competition. And they really put on a display and they made pretty much Legacy's job easy, right? And it's something that they joke about all the time. It's like peel Queen, which is Quinn, Raze. And that's all they did, right? And he just popped off and it just looked a little bit too easy for Raze, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, and the play that we're talking about in particular is the 2v2 play in the bottom lane, and Order actually initiated it. And I can see why you would initiate the play, because you have the summoner spell advantage, both of them use flash over at the dragon. You feel like, during the aftershock you can blow them up. But at a certain point you just got to hit tab. And you got to say that they've spent 1,600 gold and your 80 carry's probably on 1,600 gold. And like, if I'm Rare, I'm sitting there screaming, like, if I get tier, like, Pickaxe or tier Sheen even better, like, the laning phase is probably over and I can just, like, safely farm. But as soon as you take that 2v2 and lose it, like, it's just GG. And the laning phase was rough before that. Like, don't get me wrong, Quinn and Isles, Raze and Isles were smashing Rare and Ayla in 2v2, but they got bailed out by a team fight. Like, they had a team fight around Dragon. Sure, Legacy got the Dragon, but they had to use Raze Flash, Babbitt Flap, and Isles Flash, and a kill went over to Order. So that should have just been the big reset on Summoner's Rift. Raze teleports back into the lane and immediately gets that 2v2 kill. I feel like Order's bottom lane, like, they're playing poorly, but they're also not giving themselves a chance to play well. Sometimes in League of Legends, this is just about the discipline stuff. Like, take the correct recalls, come back on map, hit minions when you should, and sometimes the game just comes to you. Juves actually pointed out during that game, like, Rare looks like he wants to play like a superstar. He's not happy to just be carried by, the 100 CS up Orianna or, Swiper who's playing these team fights really well. It looks like he wants to play like the all-star. And unfortunately, in most of these team fights, like, he had one pop-off moment, got a triple kill. And then the other 3 team fights in the game, he just gets one hit because he's eeing into the backline like an absolute hooligan.
I will say, though, in his defense, he did have a very good dragon fight and got himself back into the game. But then he just defaulted to the... sometimes you can win games not being ruler, not being deft, right, on Ezreal. Just flinging Qs from a distance, doing enough damage, playing the front to back because compositionally you probably outdrafted them, or compositionally you had a little bit more juice in the tank in a pure front to back, right, with the Trundle ultimate, with the Cho'Gath just sitting in front. But like you said, it was just like, it's almost like, I need to show Raze I'm better than him. Like, he needs to know in this game, he needs to acknowledge that I'm better, that I was the reason we won. When sometimes it's like, well, no one, ultimately if you win the OPL, no one's going to remember a standout moment. They're just going to be like, oh, that team was very good and those players were good. So I think that's what Legacy do really well, right? We saw in this game, again, it was a little more chaotic than Legacy would like. I think we're not used to seeing them, devolve into a killer minute game. It was a little bit surprising, but ultimately they have the cool... They had the cool heads and they were able to just, reset, recalibrate and just play their front to backs. And I think what actually ended up winning their game was just superior micro, right? Like, if I had to think about the one crucial moment, it was a Baron fight where Raze put down a trap in a bush. Hayri landed a beautiful shockwave, but then got trapped off it, got one shot from half health, and Baron went over and it was as good as over. But just comes down to these little micro moments where you just see Legacy come up trumps time and time again, and it's either for a Dragon or a Baron.
Yeah, and I also think Legacy just came out clutch in a couple of situations. Like, Isles face-checked Ward, and Order had a 4v5 shot at the Baron, but key skill shots were landing from Legacy, key dodge on the Ayla hook. Then Swiper does the same thing, face checks that side brush, he gets blown up, Legacy go towards the Baron, and it's actually Legacy again coming up clutch. As you mentioned, really great trap line set up. Tally actually comes off a massive flank at the start of it, and even though he's down 100 CS, he gets 2 flashes at the very beginning of the team fight. Legacy just have these veteran players, and I've spoken about it a long time before, and this is one of the big things I respect about Tally in the mid lane. He will just give you a play a game pretty consistently, where it'll be like an alley-oop to someone else. It doesn't necessarily have to be for him. but he'll just be like, here's a freebie, Raze. Here's the Oriana's flash, or here's the fact that, I'll peel you for the Trundle. And I think Tally is like actually one of the most selfless players I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And you can just see through his Galio play this time around, like, he doesn't care whether he falls behind. He's just going to team fight well. He's going to be consistent. He's going to be that rock. He'll peel for the boys because he knows that Top Boon and Raze are two of the best carry players in the league. And, they will carry him to that OPL championship again if he just gives them the opportunity to be able to do so.
Well, Legacy dominant during the regular split and dominant here in their first game of the playoffs. Also, Sport, just on the point of you saying that Rare wants to be the guy that makes the outplay on the opposing team. You've spoken a lot about the idea of watching The Last Dance as being a motivating piece of content within the house. If you're doing a rewatch of The Last Dance, you should put 4 of the guys watching that and then just put some headphones on Rare and get him to watch Moneyball, because it feels like it should be that situation where it's like they need to be inspired by anger and hatred. You need to be inspired by just like, you just tick off the boxes on doing your job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of like both, to be honest, because like the thing that we actually took away from The Last Dance is we don't have a Michael Jordan on the team. We have, like, a couple of Scottie Pippins.
Yeah, you're
and
a team of Pippins.
Honestly, like, a couple of, like, what's his name? Paxson and Steve Kerr.
Sure, Steve Kerr's, yeah.
Like, look at Swiper. Swiper is the biggest Steve Kerr of all time. He's got one job, team fighting, and he does it very, very well. Steve Kerr being your knockdown shooter. So, it's actually...
And he's going to go on to be one of the great coaches in the league.
Yeah, and I was like the Michael Jordan on my team.
Of course. No
well, Quinn isn't Michael Jordan.
Look at that table.
Like,
that table behind you is, like, classic Jordan.
I mean, I let my support players go overseas.
All right, well, way to bum everybody out. Okay, cool. But yes, Quinn is Michael Jordan. That is, like, in the league for sure. Okay, cool. Speaking of the greatest of all time, one of our sponsors is the greatest of all time. But I think technically I'm not allowed to rank our sponsors in terms of which sponsor we like the most, but I can say within their respective fields, this sponsor is the greatest sponsor, and that is EPOS, and they want to prove their greatness by getting some greatness into your ears. EPOS want to give away 2 GSP 600 gaming headsets. All you need to do is head to @OPL on Twitter. There is a pinned tweet at the top of our account. You tell us in a reply what is your most out-of-this-world League of Legends grand final moment. We will pick our favorites live on air in a couple of weeks, which I assume is during the grand finals. And those winners will take home each a GSP 600 gaming headset. Thanks to EPOS. There are full terms and conditions on watch.lollysports.com. It is that easy to get yourself one of the best in the business.
Do you want to hear about Spooks' greatest grand final moment ever?
Is it
Always.
Game 5. Everything on the line against Legacy. He's playing Italy. Radier is playing Callista. Radier falls to 100 health, Juves. Spooks heals him. Radier picks up a pentakill. Game over. Chiefs win. Legacy lose. One of the best of fives ever. Do you know the funny thing about that story, Juves?
I do know the funny thing, but no, I don't. Tell me.
That is definitely not how that team fight went. I am 90% sure Spooks has never watched it back, because I've watched it and Radier is just 100% health, 1v5ing that game. I think it's actually so funny when Spooks tells that story, because it is just...
Has Spooks been dining out on that story for years?
For literally 5 years. It is such a... He has a reality distortion field around him that is like no one else.
But ultimately, even if the Nidalee heal did win the team fight, it's like, bro, it's a point and click ability. If you missed it, then we'd have to be having a word or two about how your mechanics are probably not up to scratch. But
also, the reality distortion field, that's only supposed to apply on the people around you, not on yourself. That is, you have reversed the distortion field at that point. That is an unhealthy field to be stuck in the middle of. Let us know in the chat as well any of your grand final stories. I know Rusty's favorite grand final story is the one that has never actually happened, which is and Spawn, I think you've been on this train as well. For years we have been trying to get the OPL to allow us, for whatever reason, during a grand final, that there's a couch segment obviously between every single game. And I can't remember, maybe Spawn came up with this, I agreed, and Rusty's just been banging the drum on it ever since, that we think it would be funny to bring on an IKEA couch.
Yes.
And that over the course of the grand final, the couch segment is literally just, it cuts back to whoever is on the couch segment, just building a couch live on stage at MEO. And then at the end of the show, we need to give the couch away to somebody in the audience.
That is, honestly, a sponsorship deal waiting to happen. IKEA would give us millions of dollars to do that live, I'm sure.
The easiest win you could possibly imagine. Bookies in the chat says, can the casters read our chat? Yes, we can, because we can read.
Because we're literate.
So that is like I don't know what world you think we're not sitting in front of computer screens with Twitch chat open, but there you are. Yes, so and we were hoping that the whole the greatest, let's just say it, the greatest sadness of COVID is the fact that we'll never get to build a couch on stage this year. We're just gonna have to figure that out.
I know someone who's actually not going to win the headset, and they actually said that my favorite was when Juves actually played in the final. The joke's on him because I never played in a final, so that means he's not winning a headset, right?
There you go. Absolutely. Unless they can tell that story with such panache that we go, yeah, that is the best telling of that story.
Although
maybe Nick
look,
will
I never
wrap it.
played in a final, but I did win Rift Rival.
Correct.
That's true.
I won. Even when we lost, I won.
This person then says, haha, Jews, you know I'm memeing. But I feel like they've already
No, I've
they've
blocked
already
him.
gone
I've
down
blocked
the
him on
path,
all
right?
my
Yeah.
social media accounts, and I'm actually taking him to court.
100%. All right, it is time to jump into game number 2. Legacy coming out fast and strong against Order in a game where if Legacy could slow it down, what can they possibly do at that point? I'm excited to find out, but we saw yesterday Order, the bottom lane, switched it on halfway through. So if they could just move that one game earlier tonight, that would really set us up for a great series. So let's jump into game number 2. It's Legacy versus Order, and it's coming up with the Macca's Jam Select.
Now, a full 5v5 will take place here. The Dragon is there for the taking. The Soul Point is here for Pensnet to acquire. Stormbringer used to disengage away, but look at that! The one shot on the jungler! The Volibear is gone. Hextech is huge. And the shutdown comes across there onto the Aphelios. That's 1,000 gold into the pockets of Babip. A double kill for Tapoon. Can the big man himself live to tell the tale? There's healing cut to take him down this time. It might not be 17 hours. This time it might be 7. But this time at the late game here, Rusty, they've done the damage. He's well on his way to getting that full item build there. Whoa, he's going to be the one that gets caught out. He doesn't have that flash. This could be huge right now. Can he run? Can he live? Can he survive? Everybody turns their attention onto Olaf, but he gets the reset. He's got the movement speed. Forget the flash. I've got a ghost on cooldown. It is working overtime right now as Tien tries to be the hero, the savior of the day, but it just will not be enough. His entire team have crumbled to the ground. 4 members fall on through. The Tempered Fate, they thought they had it. It had worked all game long. Going through to the grand finals just like that. It's going to be an interesting one to see how this game really plays out, how it progresses, what we can see and what we will show. And Rusty, I do start to wonder. You can hear me?
Okay, we're good, we're good.
Okay. Okay, have I been trolled? Has that introduction been scuffed? Is it gone? Are we done? Are we here? Well, we're going to see that there are some picks, there are some bans, there are some adaptations. And there will need to be some changes, and I think bot lane is probably the one area we're most intrigued about.
Yeah, definitely. What will change, right? Is the Karma going to be... sorry, not the Karma as it got banned. The Caitlyn going to be something that's focused here, right? The interesting first thing is, of course, by not changing sides, I do think that Order make it a little bit harder for themselves, giving the Caitlyn over as that first pick if, and there's a big if here, they're going to continue to go the Ezreal and take the skill matchup. I do think that there are better AD carry options, That's what I would like to see from them in this game. They've already played the Jhin before, and I suspect that may be the direction that we choose to go. You could also consider taking the Morgana away if you're going to go for the Jhin for yourself, to try and remove that Kate Morgana lane. And it's decent into something like the Kate Lux if that's the direction you're going to go. But they may actually go for an Orianna like it worked last game. They may consider going for a jungler as well in that first 3 and holding the support pick to give some extra bans for themselves, being the 4th pick on red side, or to have a lot of choices.
They certainly do, and you touched a really good point there, the fact that Jhin tends to be their go-to matchup to go into the likes of a Caitlyn, but when they have played the Jhin, they have combined it with the Morgana, so Ayla will be definitely considering that pick, no doubt. I suppose for them they're going to be really curious now what Legacy will draft, so they can't put themselves into a bit of a weird and wacky situation. That's a Ziggs. Okay.
Yeah, so we've seen this in the LCS actually. It was picked into an Azir from memory for most of those games. This time it's going to be the Orianna, so of course very good at taking turrets. I think it goes without saying at this point that Legacy's composition is already sculpted to be incredible at sieging and taking down structures. That's most likely going to be the name of the game here from them. Good wave clear as well through all their respective lanes and strong scaling. Overall, Order are going to be the ones that reinvent their laning phase at the very least with this 3rd pick for themselves. And Set probably going to be a needed factor into a Caitlyn, Ziggs rather, style composition.
Yep, the set has been played by both Ayla and Swiper, so either bot or top lane. I don't want to go for the Morgana just yet, as you mentioned before. Don't want to make it too easy for Legacy to respond to. They need to try and find as much power that they can achieve in that bot lane as possible. So it'll be interesting now to see what bans coming out. If Legacy are saying, well, we're kind of scared as to that being an option, be it the flexibility that the set can offer. We've yet to see only play in the jungle, so it still could be a tri-flex here, Rusty.
Cannon going to be banned away here by Legacy. Usually one of those bans that opens the floor to like a Gnar or a Renekton is 2 major options that you'd be looking at here if you were Legacy. It does still open the floor up to Swiper, however, to pick that for himself as he has the first pick. Waiting to see where Order go with this second ban, if it's going to be a Morgana again, because I personally would recommend that, but they're going to go for the global option instead here, Skimmy. Try and make things a little bit better for themselves in top lane. Bit more power in the hands of Swiper.
Certainly are, and we've seen a lot of these champions be utilised by Tapun in the past. Obviously, GP is his go-to. We've seen that he's found some fantastic angles, not in Split 2, but in Split 1 especially on the Kennen, to try and facilitate the idea of we want to go for a big team fight wombo combo. We have seen the Ziggs idea before. It was paired with the Camille, but obviously it's been banned away this time, so we're not going to see that interesting play like we saw in the Epos play of the week. Get a final ban with the Pantheon.
And just looking at champions that you'd want to play in top lane if you were Order. Of course, the Renekton has been taken away. I'm thinking Engage of some kind. Only is going to go for his Karthus, so a lot of extra damage, a lot of scaling once again for them. Some kind of bridging champions feel like the necessary pick here. You do have the option of counter pick, so you're waiting to see what your opponents choose to go. Maybe something like a... Oh, actually, you need physical damage as well. Kled, probably your best choice. If you were Swiper, Scion, still up and available though. So maybe he goes for like the Sterak's Titanic style Scion.
He did play the Kled a couple of times last night when he wanted to make sure they had enough physical damage. The Scion doesn't seem to be the go-to necessarily. If the Trundle is there, they tend to ban it away all the time if they want it to be the case. And the Karthus, ever since it's been receiving those buffs, it obviously has showcased that it's insanely strong. Croc demonstrated that in the series last night. But this is a pick that only hasn't played since Split 1. He was undefeated back then. It was a champion that received a lot of respect bans in that time as well. And that was the question, would we get the Morgana to respond to the Lux? Legacy rose to the occasion, but Ayla wants to run it back again as the Nautilus.
Yeah, so they're going to go for the Lux Caitlyn bot lane. A lot more aggression, more shielding, more importantly as well. Instead of going for the spell shield, they've chosen to go for the actual physical shield. This does also flex Swiper to playing that set in top lane now that he has seen the Ornn up there as well. That was always a possibility in that flex, and like mentioned, they needed the physical damage. So that's something they've chosen to go for here. Nautilus actually a pretty important tool here for the side of Order if they want to win this game as well. Right now, if he doesn't hit hooks, it's pretty impossible to find some kind of engage onto the team composition of Legacy who can just stand and deliver from range. And that's not to say that Order aren't comfortable with that range as well, right? Karthus, Skittles, Orianna, distance between her and the ball can be quite large, and of course Jin's range is phenomenal. But this is now one of those situations, I think, Skimmy, again, where we're looking at the early game and saying if Legacy snowball their way through, if they get those leads, particularly through the Caitlyn Lux lane, then it's difficult for Order to find their way back into this one, especially if they're going for the tier stacking mid laner. And depending on Rare's build, as he has gone the Manamune on Jhin before, depending on what he goes as well.
Yeah, if he's after the instant power, if he has full faith in the rest of his team, the likes of the Orianna and the Karthus to try and bridge that gap and be enough of a scary threat for him to influence the map with that global Requiem. I want to return to the Ziggs matchup in the mid lane. We've yet to really see this shown in the OPL. We've got, obviously, the fact that it's been played once in the mid lane. It was played by Chungy as Legacy took battle with Mammoth. It was actually this exact matchup, the Ziggs into the Orianna. Very curious to see how it's going to work out here today as we jump into game number 2 and see how Legacy can continue this momentum. Has been their first match-up in the playoffs so far, and they came out like a wrecking ball, but will Order be able to stabilize and bounce back?
Yeah, as we get onto the rift for this one, once again, not expecting any kind of craziness at level 1 here. Just going to be that 5-point start. Things to look for through the early game as well is going to be how Trundle gets active around the rift. You know, Karth is one of those champions that can kind of assist in situations, is not horrible in a 2v2, but doesn't tend to be the aggressor going for any kind of early ganks. Super unlikely to see, right? Just wants to be farming up as much as he can. He's always looking for that CS advantage, experience advantage, and item advantages. Trundle can kind of do anything, right? Has a lot of potential threat to actually look for those ganks, especially when you've got an Ornn in top lane. You know, one of those matchups where you can actually set up the pillar for Ornn to headbutt as well, if you're looking to cement some ganks, and bot lane's huge. You know, you have so much kill threat down in that bottom lane as well with the Caitlyn Lux down there. And once again, if they're able to plant their feet and get advantages through bot lane, all you need is Tally and Raze on the same screen, and towers just drop like it's no one's business. So that's always a place that I'd be looking at if I was Batman.
They certainly do, and as you rightly touch on this, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic sieging on both sides, right? There's range advantages that both teams can look to execute upon. There's the ability to lock off portions of the map. We're talking traps, bindings, the wall of you shall not pass that obviously Karthus can lay down as well. But I'm interested from a Legacy standpoint. Obviously they've got a ton of poke to complement the hard engage. I think about sieging, we know that Caitlyn's very keen for it, that the satchel charge can then execute upon it as well. But you know, is there more to the Ziggs pick, do you think?
Oh, well, it's a nullifying lane, right? Like, it sounds funny to say that, but it really is. You sit back and it's kind of like the Ezreal of bot lane. Is one of the comparisons I guess you could draw. Like, if lane is necessary, you can just throw Qs to last hit and be safe. You will always have farm. You will always get to those items. You're notorious for being able to delay the game's length if you're in a losing situation by just instantly clearing waves. Nice little Q there at level 1 as well. And the Ziggs in general is still a nice scaling pick. So there is more than just the sieging that it provides. The damage is going to be huge. The zoning that it provides is massive as well if you're looking at objectives. But you'd kind of... like, if you were to compare a Ziggs and an Orianna, you'd almost always want the Ori on your team, right? Because team fighting just makes more sense. You have a combo. Where Ziggs is a little bit more enigmatic in what he actually provides for those team fights. It's just skill shots and damage.
Certainly is, and we'll see they are snowballed into a position where they can fully demonstrate what they can achieve. As you touched on before, the binding max distance is what Isles was able to achieve, and it forced Rare 7 to burn that cleanse very defensively, very early on as well. Whether or not that's going to affect the trading patterns, prevent Ayla looking for those aggressive hooks early on. That could swing the balance of this matchup in either side's favour. We'll keep tabs on it as it stands so far, but I'm interested to see kind of the impact that Only can find on the Scarf. It's been a while since he played this champion. We know its strengths. Wasn't really able to find himself a foothold in game number 1. He was so impressive in day 1. So they'll be very much reliant on him to find success in an old pick here today.
Not enough minions in that wave here from the side of Legacy. This next wave isn't going to be a cannon wave either, so the next one after that will be. But what I'm trying to get at here is already turret plates falling in bot lane. The health of that turret, 3 minutes and 45 seconds in, is exceptionally low.
Yeah.
Babip now also hovering the bottom side of the map level 4 does mean that he may even consider something here. And while Ayla steps up aggressively, a binding, and suddenly a gank's on, and you never see it coming. Because you've got a Karthus here to counter, actually. Do they want this 3v3?
Oh no, Ayla's looking for it. There's Isles flashing forward aggressively. He wants it, he'll take it, and they'll get rid of him. No cleanse, and that's the punishment factor. Raze the one to pick up the gold, and just like that, Legacy get first bloods.
And what I'm feeling from that is that Order were looking for a gank, not a counter. Because I don't think they ever want to take that 3v3 willingly, but timing is not on their side here, Skibby. As they look for the hook, literally at the exact same moment Isla flashes in, locks down Rare. And no cleanse on that Jhin does mean that he's just going to die no matter what. That's a tragedy for Order. That is an absolute shame because now the Caitlyn fights the kill is 1-0 and is definitely snowballing, which is the one thing that continues to concern.
He'll return to this lane with a BF sword like last time. Has taken so many turret plates as well and has a cult to look forward to cashing it on top of all things considered. It's going to be crazy. Wait to see the Tally rotation in the bot lane as well to assist in that siege. Forget about the Herald. It's not a necessity. You've got a Ziggs on your team, but it's definitely a luxury you'd love to afford. Checking with these other lanes so far, as it will be only that finds himself up in that camp clear. Viper is definitely keeping Cocoon in check by hard shoving in that wave.
And I like this from Tally, just quietly in mid lane as well, going for the Tear of the Goddess build. Usually you'll see this from champions like the Orianna, or like when you're against the LeBlanc specifically is what I'm trying to say here as well. You know, when you're against a burst champion like the Zeds, the Assassins, usually you'll go for that just to be able to survive their combo. Kind of disincentivizes their attempts in the first place and makes laning a lot easier for you. But when you're against the Karthus as well, it's not so much just about the laning phase then, it's about having that tool to survive the burst that comes down. Because he's gone for the teleport in his build instead of the barrier, this does feel like the natural progression from Tally, so I like the itemization choice. Does remove a lot of his early lane presence and damage though, that you would have from rushing a Lost Chapter. As again, both mid laners are prioritizing having the tier and going for the Lost Chapter in that build, which is my personal preference.
Does mean they'll be matching one another in terms of potential item spikes, given how the lane state could favor either one of them. Quite running the point at the barrier could be invaluable here in deciding who can rotate for those cooldowns more importantly. That was a nice little opportunity for Eda potentially to look at it, but as we've seen so far already, with this item mismatch between the two AD carries, you don't want to chuck yourself into a almost likely demise.
Finding hits.
When it does hit, Babbage still popping towards mid lane. Now he's going to have the inline tracker, so I need to come back to my team. Ada had the flash, so did Rare. They're going to think that Requiem might be enough. There's no summoner heal. Razor's going to fall on down. We said what could only do. He finds the Karthus, and he'll going to trade back. Now, the solo laners look to try and get aggressive. There goes R2, the ultimate call of the Portugal, trying to do as much as he can. But there's the showstopper, the flash away. Will Tupoon follow? He does not want to. He's not going to use that final auto attack to hit the Brittle proc. He's not going to find it, but here come the teleports and here come the fights. He buffers it a little bit. Out comes the pillar, knocks him back. He flashes over. He might be safe, and he will be for sure. And Raze without the level 6, no curtain call, will not be able to find an execution from afar.
Yeah, unfortunately for Legacy, the trap wasn't actually able to prime itself and go off on any kind of hook disengage there by Ayla. So he's able to save himself the flash, and that gets him over the Trundle Pillar, and he is going to be able to walk away with his life. Still, fantastic stuff here from the side of Order. You've got a Karthus. Basically, the second he hits 6 Skibby, presses R, gets a kill. I mean, that's just perfect. That's exactly what you're after if you were Order as a win condition, is money in the correct hands. Now, if he's going to be able to trade objectives here on the other side, but look at the CS difference starting to crop up between these junglers as well. I mean, that's significant.
Certainly is. I mean, Onu's been heavily investing in his ability to carry as well, make it so that the AP damage, whether or not Harry can find a stand-up performance once again, at least one of these AP damage users will be one to deal with. And we know the fact that Karthus loves to fight fire with fire by going for these objectives, spamming those abilities, and then be giving a second life fire as well. The fact that his first ultimate found success with a kill, he's going to be delighted. And it looked like he was peeking his head in there to try and steal away a blue, but I don't think he did.
So it's not going to be a 10-minute turret in bottom lane by any means, especially with all of the action that we've seen down there. And, you know, one thing going right for Order, and that buys you an extra couple of minutes. But we are still at a point now where Raze is starting to get a little bit more comfortable. And anytime you're out of lane, anytime you're caught shopping, helping your team, forcing priority to then disappear, he may actually just take a plate instantly. And so that could be a turret very soon with only 2 plates remaining. Also, 8 minutes into this one, you're looking at the possibility of flipping the map for a Herald if they would like as well. So if they don't believe they'll be able to take the structure 2v2 down in bottom lane, bring the junglers into the mix, start threatening for that Rift Herald, and that's a free turret elsewhere on the map. But right now, they are seeming to be choosing the exact path you'd expect of a Caitlyn Lux, which is just isolate, stick to your 2v2, and look for the turret yourself.
You do highlight a good point there about the 10-minute mark. We've seen Caitlyn variations. Because Avant really brought it to the front line at the start of Split 2. They ran the Caitlyn Center, the Caitlyn Karma, found insane priority, found insane shove, and were able to get so much pressure as a result. But the fact that Order have invested a few members bot side, found success by taking out Raze early on. They have to prevent that just yet, but now Elo rises up to this occasion. He goes for the combo, he locks the members down in place, and here comes Only again. They can sidestep the AoE cone. The final shot, he's going to wait a while. It won't connect, and Ayla gets punished! They thought they were the one in the driving seat. They get turned around on. And there's the Mega Inferno Bomb coming in big time from the mid lane. It's not enough, but it does force Order to back away.
They were the one in the driver's seat, Skibby. He's just drove himself into a bloody wall. Still Karthus is bottom lane. We should probably go back down to looking at that lane, however. It's volatile, but top's fighting.
Both lanes are volatile once again. It's going to be Swiper looking to try and buffer that combination by using his ultimate. There goes the Haymaker, there's the grid, there's the shield, and there's the chance to survive just a little bit longer. But this time he connects. He hung onto his flash last time. He knows his damage profile. He knows how to execute upon it. And he'll find the solo kill in top lane.
Tally does survive in mid lane, but it is a Dark Harvest proc at the very least that goes over Topun as well in top lane. That's how close they were for a double kill for the Karthus when you look at those blinking health bars. But at the end of the day, it is still that solo kill in top lane for Topun. He's almost done it twice already in laning phase. Really punishing this set pick, looking at his windows with his ultimate available, and seems to just be poking incredibly well by using that Q. A couple of nice cancels, I will say, mechanically from Swiper in that top lane, because you get a base breaker and horn out of his dash into the pillar. Prevents the knockup as well, but still losing the lane. Considering that, shows how well Topun plays.
Certainly is. And Industry Legacy now commanding the objectives in their favor. And whilst not the quickest start to this one, it is one that is based around the composition they have, and that was to invest in this spot lane and ensure it finds as many turret plates as possible. Much like game number 1, they will make the lane flip happen as a result to facilitate the success. The question now becomes, will they summon the Herald top side? And will it find 2 turrets again? That was a bit of a disaster. That blew the game wide open as a result, but wherever this duo go for the Order side, Only follows.
Yeah, Only is hovering constantly. He still has found himself an advantage in the jungle role, considering all the time he is spending near his bottom lane. That's fantastic work, you would have to say, from the Karthus hit. If you were Babip, I think ideally you'd probably want to place it and break it in the lane, break the turret in the lane where the Caitlyn is, just to give money into that Caitlyn specifically. But you could consider using it where the Ornn is, and just breaking a structure instantly down in that bottom lane right now as well. Trying to unleash Ornn onto the map is a pretty scary thing to do. Because mid laners are having a crack.
Yeah, to this trading skill shots as it stands right now. Harry's done a fantastic job of building himself up a massive lead with this CS right now. And as he goes for the all-in shockwave, there's the ultimate from the river. Babip was hovering, he was waiting, and there's an ultimate as an alley-oop just to rub salt into the wounds. He had a field day as to where he could go to gank to set themselves up for some insane siege potential. And now they're going to be rewarded with another kill.
Exactly 1 ult worth of time ago, Hayri does it perfectly. He knows where the enemy jungler is. They're active on the map. This time, he throws it with no idea where the Ornn is and no idea where the Trundle is, and gets instantly punished. Legacy just making light work of this game right now, punishing the over-aggression of Order, which is a standard. You know, Order aren't over-aggressive on average, but knowing when to punish them and knowing when to force it to be over-aggression is something that Legacy are very good at. Plus their individual lane scaling, as you can see, is becoming a little bit too much. That's 2 levels.
This is the punishment factor you're talking about right now. Every single lane is favored and being pushed in for Legacy. That's Babip flashing away. 1 more turret shot. He's so low. That's going to be Karthus flashing over the wall, hits him with the damage from Defile, and takes him out. Now Topun's in a bit of trouble. He's forced to try and run away. Both bruisers do not have their flash. Nobody actually in this 3-man collapse will have that flash. And Topun take 1 to the grave with him. He's forced to deal with the Haymaker, the grit, the shield, and the tanky nature that this set possesses. And unfortunately for him, feeds more gold into this Karthus. We talk about Karthus. This time that's a clean stopwatch. This time it's not a misclick, but this time it doesn't change the outcome, Rusty. Pure chaos again.
Yeah, stopwatch is actually one of the biggest unfortunate counters of yourself if you're looking at these small skirmishes against the likes of a Caitlyn. She's able to just place a trap directly on top of you, and no flash, no ignite able to be used here by this Nautilus, unfortunately. They're also going to use the Jhin ultimate to try and clear the wave, and you can see Legacy standing directly in front of all of those minions. Gives them extra time purchase to auto-attack this turret, and they will be able to break the structure. So good stuff here from Legacy in the 2v2 as they are once again causing themselves such a nuisance. Order trying their best on the other side of the map. Swiper handling the 1v2, preventing the dive. Karthus in the right place at the right time. But the second Karthus shows bottom skivvy, just opens the floodgates for Raze again.
And that was my point leading into that fight. The fact that there was another 30 seconds left in those turret plates. All the lanes were being pushed in. They just found that kill on mid lane into the Orianna. They had a satchel charge ready to use as well. The fact that Caitlyn continued to push in topside as well. Order are going to be very happy they're at least able to find something on the map at that time. And whilst they got themselves some healthy CS advantages and Fed members in particular lanes, the gold lead is still against them at the 15-minute mark. It will be Legacy that are up by just over 2k. Another Dragon to look forward to. Still a while away. So they're going to try and slow down this game just a tiny bit. So it's the Shockwave. Just clear minions.
Bit of a frustrated emote there from Raze. Of course, has got his 2 items online here as well. If we're going to compare AD carries right now, I feel like the items say it all. There is 2 completed items to the components of 1.
Yeah.
That's how big the gap is right now between these bottom laners, and unfortunately for Hayri,
it's night and day.
yeah, it is. It definitely is. And unfortunately, of course, for Hayri, he throws his ultimate to try and take the pot shot. Now has to sit himself in a side lane without that even up and available. Really is becoming a one-horse race here from Order, I think it's fair to say, in this game. Of course, Hayri's strong. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be fine, but he's also going to be sitting in side lanes a little bit more often. There is just a monster Karthus right now. And a lot of this game, to me, feels like it's going to come down to, can Karthus kill people, or will Legacy kill them first?
That is the case. There's no denying that Order have a fantastic AoE wombo combo. They just need to find that success. Once again, Ayla engages into that insanely fed Caitlyn. And he says, what on earth are you doing? I've got red buff, I've got damage, and I've got range, more importantly. I'll take 2 of you. Come at me.
What on earth are they doing? You're absolute, what are they doing? Caitlyn's got 2 whole items. Look at your chin. That's not the fight. That's not the fight. Popping it on top.
There he comes. The Korean sniper looking for those targets. Hits the ultimate from far away, sets the team up for success. He'll fall on down, dies to a red buff of all things. And wherever Legacy go, they take your turrets, they take the map control, and they'll find kills as well.
And they still have a 3-0 Karthus. Swiper's doing everything that he possibly can. He can auto attack and take down this turret. It will take a bit of extra time because, of course, he has once again gone for that Sunfire Cape build. Gives him wave clear on minions, but it's not going to give him damage on his structure itself. Legacy now with a 5-1 AD carry, though, with mid lane broken, with top lane, bot lane, all the outers gone. I mean, the game is their oyster. They've got a Rift Herald here as well, so they could be able to summon that one wherever they would like and threaten an inner. And with Drake in 1 minute and 30 seconds, they may even just use the Herald as a dead weight type of objective, just cannon fodder for Order to have to deal with. Yeah. Bring them around the map and start to force those objectives for free themselves.
Now, I'm curious, what is Order's game plan here, really, to try and get themselves back into this game? Because thankfully for them, Rare will now finally have that first item complete with the Infinity Edge. The Saracen Grace is there for Harry. He's going to find that advantage, given that both mid laners went for the tier item first. So they've got damage profiles. There will not be the Oblivion Orb for the maximum damage capacity. No, he's gone for the Haunting Guys instead. Just wants more burn damage, wants to stay around and do what he can. Is that still having to be the, the go-to? Would you say it's really up to the mid-jungle to pop off here for Order to try and come back into this one?
I mean, when you look at the comps, I don't think anyone else can. Now that you've got a 0-2 AD carry, who is down 40 CS, is probably down a boatload of turret plates as well, so the gold's reflective of even more than that. You don't really have a Jhin, right? He's just going to be using W, using his R to slow people down, to enable Karthus to hit spells, to enable Orianna to hit spells. It really does come down to what can you get done through your mid-jungler. One other option is because Raze currently has no flash, and he's running flash teleport as well, is a flank from Set. Swiper does have the capabilities in these team fights, you know, using the flash, looking for an ultimate, bringing them into the Karthus. But realistically, while you have a 3-0 Karthus, I think a part of this game plan is he's going to end up dying a lot, because he's going to be needing to do a lot of the damage and carry a lot of the load here, Skibby, if they want to win a team fight.
Let's see what he can do, because as you can see on your screen right now, Raze is really limiting the options for Order to come and even contest this next dragon. They've resigned him to this one little option, and that is to come on through here, and with the zoning control they have so far, it's insane. But here comes Swiper on the flank, looking for a key target. They've taken out Raze, there's the suplex, there's the wombo, there's the shutdown! There he is! Harry doing what he can, he says this game is far from over. I fed Caitlyn, but believe. Just believe. There's the 4-man face breaker. Bring them all together. Clap their hands and say hello. The flash forward. Tapoon takes one, but it's all things Order in this one. They were searching for a miracle. Their game was looking so far-fetched. They had so little opportunities to even be into that fight. But they will, and they'll get the dragon as well.
If they don't win that fight, Skimmy, I think they lose the game. Just plain and simple. But Order come in clutch. Swiper, the captain of the team, comes in clutch specifically as well. Look at the flank that he's on right now. Comes in behind Raze, knows full well that he could just flash ult him, but wants to be able to threaten here more importantly. Dodges out on the Lux binding, throws the ultimate straight into Hayri. They've got the damage. Remember, it's not a Lulu in this game, right? It's the Lux. And once the shield is gone, that is it for the support that they're going to have. Seraph's Embrace is going to keep Harry alive there as well. And Swiper, once again, just face breakers, 4 of them together, makes them kiss. And then, unfortunately, Ayla goes down. The top end flashes to secure that one. Ultimately, you would say it's probably not worth it. Big fight from Order.
You identified it perfectly there, Rusty, by saying that Raze does not have any flash. They've gone for him. They pushed on through. They found that window of opportunity to say, what can we do? Swiper, the most experienced player in the OPL, showcased his class, showcased his leadership, and was able to bring them all together in such a decisive moment. Game number 2, you don't think it's too big of a deal, but hey, if you're losing this game, you're put on a match point. The pressure really amps up from there. So, as the gold lead was so far ahead of them beforehand, the 21-minute mark, that's going to shrink a little bit down to 3.
I think that's a really interesting series of moments, though, here for both of these teams, because I don't think Legacy will be phased by losing a single team fight, but I do think that Order will feel that, you know, and the way that they'll play the rest of this game, or even series, will be reflective of being able to win a team fight like that. I have no doubt in my mind that Rare was just screaming his lungs off as they win that team fight. Yeah. Swiper's probably amped up as well. And for a team that do have emotions and hearts on their sleeve, right, as players, that'll be a big team fight. It's needed for them to stay in this game.
Let's see how they try to bounce back from this one. What can they find now? Raze Flash is there. Rare 7 able to find himself a kill to influence that fight. You mentioned it, he was going to be on zoning duties, playing from the back line. He used that Curtain's Call. The slow was there. The rest of the team to come on through to good deals of success. And Harry, once again, showcasing that this is the reason he wants to play the Orianna. If it's up and available, he's going to go for it. Another big lockdown finds him some success. Gets him a kill. You'll love to see it. Start to wonder, with the control that Legacy have, it's definitely still in their favor. What can they do to push this one back in their favor even harder than it was before?
Will Baron be something that they consider? That is definitely a question we should be asking for both teams. Caitlyn's damage is pretty unreal at the moment, so they definitely could. You've got the Leandras there for the Karthus as well, something that is currently being built by Tally, so the damage to these neutral objectives is starting to increase. I don't think any team would specifically go for it against the Green, try and sneak it or anything like that, however. So it's most likely going to be one of those situations where a team fight reflects in a Baron take afterwards. Unless we start getting top laners just outright winning control of the map and then moving up themselves to try and force any kind of control of the objective. Someone like Topoon, who's obviously been controlling his lane nicely, could consider that. Also, chooses to stick to the brown boots, build himself a locket, instead of going for something like the Merc Treads. What a guy.
What a
Supreme
guy,
confidence.
He has full faith in his team. He knows what they can do. The resources are their way. Obviously, one thing to note is the fact that Legacy, whilst not having the GP for the cross-map plays, will have the Ornn to look forward to with these ornaments. He's level 14. He's upgraded his 2 core items, be it the Sunfire and the Abyssal Mask. That Molten Edge, you're just waiting for them to come together to empower that. He's got the QSS as well, so, you know, flash or not, he's going to have a little bit more protection and a lot of extra damage. If somebody comes his way, gets up in close range again.
Maybe the hardest item names to remember, Skibby, I will say.
Yeah.
You got the Molten Edge, you've got Salvation that could be built by Isles as an upgrade on Redemption. I think that's it at the moment, right, in this game? The potential Ornn item upgrades. Of course, like you mentioned, the Molten Edge is done. And we've got the Drake up in 20 seconds. This is, first of all, Infernal Soul. But second of all, not even close to being sold for either of these teams. If Order are able to sell, hang on.
They want it. They're going to look for it. They start the fight off there with Ayla. They're going to follow things up here with the Curtains Call. That's the Ornn ult. That's the one to use to zone it away, cancel the cast, and make sure they can turn this fight around. Mega Inferno Bomb doing damage to 3. That takes Jin out of the fight straight away. He's still got both his summoners. He is still surviving. As you say, the Shockwave was used, but I think a fair amount of ultimates had to be committed to try and assert themselves dominance of not only the mid-wave, but the ability to enter into this Dragon Pit.
Yeah, actually wasn't used, which is why I bring it up, Skimmy. They've got a Karthus ultimate and they still had an Orianna Shockwave. I think there was even 5 people grouped on it, but Order choosing to disengage was the call, right? And at this point in the game, and like we were just highlighting, it's the second Drake of the game that Legacy get. That's not a game breaker by any means. You're willing to look for the shot. You know, you take the Flash Nautilus hook. If you're able to get the kill on the Ziggs, then fantastic. The objective is on. But they're not going to get it. You know, the disengage was too good here by the side of Legacy. They're able to force Order back. And they'll say, okay, you win the battle. But we're not going to sacrifice the war for it. We're not going to force any further than necessary. Disengage and give only the second Drake of the game over to Legacy, who are definitely strong right now with that upgraded Infinity Edge.
26 minutes in. The Gold League continues to stabilize at the 3k mark. Order going to be absolutely ecstatic with that one. They've had 2 major moments in this game to showcase what they're about. One being the fight to take away that dragon. The next being the one to punish Raze without that all-important Flash Summoner. Are still behind, but they do have reasons to celebrate. There's the Rabadon's cap here for Hayri. Means that when the Shockwaves do connect, they're going to do a whole lot more damage right now. Leandries is ready to rock and roll with the Zonias, or sorry, with the stopwatch. Swiper's Carp is just a little bit easier. Swiper's just out for a jog. He's got his cardio boots on so far, sidesteps them both. Now has the attention of 2 members of Legacy, captivated by his presence. He's just buying time for his team right now.
Yeah, there's no way he could deal with a Bloodthirster Caitlyn. He hasn't got nearly enough damage to be able to take him down. Swiper's going to take the smart decision here as well. And he's actually just not going to bother using that ultimate. Don't waste it. You know, he's got teleport up in 40 seconds. May as well have it for if Legacy try and use that pick to take an objective. So I think that's actually a smart decision there from Swiper in the end, where unfortunately he was caught out of position to start the fight. He does still make the educated choice afterwards. And Legacy aren't really going to get anything from it either. It's just more money into their pockets. Of course, you can't complain by having that, but Pirates is really the name of the game here from them.
Seems like we're drawing parallels again from game 1 of Protect the Caitlyn. As you mentioned before, the locket is there now for Tapoon Zorn. They already had the Knight's Vow moments prior. Ability to ensure that Raze can be as aggressive as he likes, but has the resources to prevent as much damage as is possible. Bloodthirst, obviously, the insane shield it provides. It's going to be nice. BF sword items coming in clutch once again.
Yeah. Compensates for the lack of Lulu, right? Having that overshield. Going to be pretty important to stay alive through an Orianna combo, and you already mentioned the death cap. Pretty much in one-hit territory if there was no shield. Lots of magic resistance now being built, however, and Tapoon, most importantly, having completed that locket. Bit of extra resistance to those burst combos is going to be very crucial. So Tapoon probably going to start grouping from this point as well with the team fights that we'll start to see. Legacy for the first time in a couple of minutes have actually used a control ward on top of the Baron itself, so Order getting a sniff that something's wrong, rightly so, will make their way here. Because before this point, they actually hadn't cleared the Baron at all. The Order were free to just buy time.
Yeah, and Legacy right now just hunting for picks.
Order won't give him another opportunity. That's a two-man stun led by the Ornn so far. Now the Showstopper takes him out the fight, but the spin is so damn tanky. He won't be taken out that easy. That's a two-man shockwave. Race is caught in, but look at the shield on his head. Bloodthirster and Lux coming together to give this man two major health bars. It's essentially a range set at that point of the game. And what was a Baron bait to get Order into the fight is one that they will look to now fully commit to.
That shield was more than his health bar. Locket coming through as well, not just the Lux shield, of course, so it's enough shield to deter Order completely. Actually just completely pushes them away from the objective. Stand and deliver style here from Order. Their composition wants them to do it, but they execute on it. They'll get themselves the Baron. Ray are going to be a little bit too afraid from the looks of it to commit to any kind of mid lane outer turret. They're actually moving towards bot lane. They're a bit early for the Drake, Skimmy, is one important takeaway here. They're going to have vision set up very quickly, though, and comprehensively through the bot side river.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that's noticeable, right? If you look at the minimap, the Baron completely lit up in favor of Legacy. Dragon, however, completely favors Order. And whilst they're ahead of the clock by some huge margin, they are there to make sure that they're not going to get bullied out of this pit like they have done in the last two occasions.
Ray's just going to recall here directly in the face of the enemies. Of course, he has the teleport. Question is, what's he getting with that base? Full Mercurials and a control ward, Skimmy.
He's big.
Well
He's
equipped.
huge.
Yeah, he's a little bit past big.
I think the last time he checked in on his damage comparison, he was up by like 5k gold. He's a monster.
Top end is the bodyguard. Ziggs ult.
Here it comes.
Very far away. As he's winning in mid lane just quietly.
The Dragon will not be stolen away. It is all things Order so far. Jin the one to secure it. He's pushing mid. He's looking to try and end the game. He's taking down an inhibitor on his own. Baron Buff is pushing big time right now. Now Legacy are doing whatever they can to prevent these recalls. Raze is safe. He's cleansed himself. That's a flash. It's a disengage. Then it's Tapoon now soaking up damage. They take down one Nexus turret. Satchel charges OP. 1 into 2. There it goes. Here's a teleport. Orianna is panicking and Legacy are winning. They don't care. There's a shutdown. Here comes Requiem, and there's a double kill for Raze. What on earth was this play? Have you, Dragon? We don't care. Look at your base.
Rare's going to try his best to take out top boot here as well. It just barely looks like he's going to be able to survive that one. Cleanses instantly. So perhaps assuming the damage to follow there, but no chance. Ziggs ultimate actually going to be used on the backside as well here.
Lux Laser.
Does he want the start? Oh, they're trying to throw spells. Rare looks like he's going to survive here, Skibby. But the Nexus is exposed at the price of a single Drake. Fantastic choice by Legacy to say plant the Ziggs in mid. That's the calm decision making you expect from a team like Legacy. And they almost win the entire game from it. It requires Hayri to teleport his way back to base to save the game. And even then, barely saves it. He must have teleported to a minion, otherwise the game was over.
Phenomenal, to say the least. Yeah, touched on the fact that Order have invested so much vision that they planted themselves a minute before the Dragon even spawned. That's not a soul point they're playing for. They were just playing for the fact that they say, we want to make sure that we aren't giving Legacy all these win conditions to play for. They just got themselves the Baron. If they're going to put themselves on a soul point and we're having a base that's exposed, we are terrified. But this is Legacy just, as you say, cool, calm decision making. They win a fight here. They take down the base.
Too cool.
It was terms of services right there. It just a little bit
So cool they were frozen.
not safe for work. Yes.
Of course, that was going to be the replay of the cerebral play there from the Ziggs. We've seen this in the OPL before, where teams have picked the Twisted Fate, and I remember Spawn casting it, because we're all thinking the same thing. Why is this Twisted Fate not backdooring to win the game? Because he kept grouping with the team, and Tally showing him exactly how it's done. Split push style champion, of course, Tally could group on his Ziggs, but he could just sit there and one-hit turrets. Now that he's got the upgraded Rabadon's Death Crown as well here, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Auto attacks would take, and he doesn't have a Lich Bane, auto attacks would take like a third of a turret, I reckon.
Put Order in a bit of a checkmate situation, to say the least, right now. They are playing very, very defensively as a result, and for good reason too. They know how exposed their base is. They know that inhibitor's going to be down for at least another couple of minutes. And Legacy want to continue to drive that momentum hard and forward. And they want to say that, look, you know, we're not going to bank on just that one inhibitor. No, we want to make sure there is multiple avenues for us to execute upon. We want to try and siege up and succeed. We want to take more.
They're going to commit with the Call of the Forge God to prep this bot wave, chuck out the ultimate. There's a shockwave, and that's what a depth cap can do. But just like that, Salvation descends from the skies. Legacy are topped off the full HP again. Ray's in trouble. There's the teleport. He needs to flash away. He uses the Caliber net to disengage into the Raptor, or sorry, into the Wolfhead himself. But they all funnel in to take down the Caitlyn. Legacy got 4 boys healthy and ready to punch on. They will take down Swiper, and out of 5v4 situation with a red buff Caitlyn. Raze can look to try and 1v3 this on his own. He's been off too much. He's taken too much, and he will fall on down. Teleports are committed. Will Legacy still continue to siege?
I think Raze has actually just bought Order enough time. He didn't need to do that at all. And now Hayri's going to be able to stand and deliver with no Baron buff here to clear these waves. If Hayri's not careful, he'll die. But with no Caitlyn, that should just be a disengage here. That's really tragic for Legacy. I'm sure Raze will be upset about that one, because he could have just won the game in that situation and chooses too hard to be a hero. Steps a little bit too far forwards into some instant kill.
Ayla actually nearly died off screen as well there. Isles with the pinpoint precision of his ultimate, hit him with the laser. Just enough mitigation there, just enough magical resistance. Here's this Nautilus, obviously with his shield on W2.
They've got Soul Point coming up in 25 seconds. He's skimming. Honestly, Raze's death has bought so much time for Order that they might even be able to sneak out of the base. And I do say sneak out of the base. They're definitely not being allowed. They've been grounded by the parents of Legacy. They might be able to crawl out the window, get some wards down at the Drake itself, and try and threaten, because there is a Baron and a Drake up at the same time.
Look at mid inhibitor. There is a Legacy ward on it that has not been removed.
They have no teleports though, except for Raze. They just used 2 of them in an attempt to push down mid lane when Raze entered. That's the real tragedy, right? Like, everything was poised to just force the game in that situation. Of course, fortunately for them, Raze can just solo the Drake, so it doesn't matter too much.
Mid inhibitor has respawned as well. So the collaboration between both major objectives at the 36-minute mark spawning doesn't punish them as hard as they would have been otherwise.
Cool.
X marks the spot. Here's the bounty. There's the treasure. Catch me if you can. Hayri falling on down to 25%. Instantly zoned out of the fight. Now, good news for him. Can still utilize that flash as well as the teleport.
That's a free Baron. They're going to at least force the teleport out of Hayri, right?
For sure.
And if he teleports away from his base, that kind of does open the floor to some risk here. Legacy will be able to hit this one and just disengage whenever they would like. Order are the ones that have to come in, and Ayla.
Oh no. Look at the
found
zoning
out why
control.
it's bad.
Between the minefield of Ziggs and the traps of Caitlyn. How do Order push into this one? They need to find a creative flanking angle once
Only
again.
has to steal it.
Can they steal it with a smite? Can they drop these members low enough? It's not looking good right now. Order are going to disengage away from this one.
No steal available whatsoever. They're actually just completely disengaging. They've dispersed. Recalling in completely different areas themselves. Just about surviving. And they will. But now that Legacy have the Baron, they don't necessarily need to put too much effort into setting up into 3 lanes you wouldn't expect. And they don't really have an emphasis on a split pusher. So you would want mid and bot lane probably as your primary place of control. You know already, as a fact, that Order have got a lot of their vision set up on the top side jungle, because that's where they were contesting for the Baron. So it'd be pretty easy to just walk into the blue side jungle, clear wards out yourself, and at least match the setup time.
Down goes the pillar. Here's the Inferno Bomb. There's the stopwatch. There's the target. And there's an ability to take him on out. You hit flash, but you can't run away from this one. Sidestep the AoE. Do not get hit by the Curtain's Call. Only running and gunning. And finds one. That's the final shot there. Jin secures it. They've removed the Ziggs factor here. Now Swiper tries to go for the ultimate. Instantly cleansed. You can't take him out. This is his playground. He's having fun. There's a double kill.
Raze is nuts.
Game to game, he shows why he has this record, why he is the player to watch for. He is putting on a clinic right now, and he'll take it a triple kill. The base is exposed, the game is there for the taking. Legacy are going to take this best of 5. They're going to make it a 2-0, and they are going to put this series on a match point here today, Rusty. It's a dominating performance once again. Moments to celebrate here for Order. He just wants to pad his CS per minute just a little bit more, because why not? But that'll be the game going in favor for Legacy.
And a scary one at that.
That was a triple kill for Raze in that last team fight, teleporting to fight the Karthus, it seems like, as well for the 4th skibby. But that was sick. I believe he just used a QSS flash to get himself out of the set ultimate. The knock up there keeps himself away from Oriana Shockwave, and then just one-taps Hayri. And that's it for the game, right? Fantastic performance coming out of Legacy in the end. There's still a lot of, like, I wouldn't say that's the perfect game coming from them by any means, but they're able to just get so far ahead through laning phase that they afford themselves the mistakes that they make, right? And easy like from that point, right? They're able to slow the game down, get objectives, and just control the rest.
Twice blue side, twice was Caitlyn let through the draft, and twice did they utilize it to extreme effect from start to finish with cash injection, with turret play acquisition, with siege that is successful. That means that they find so many early objectives. The game has been going the way of Legacy here. We're going to jump to a quick break, and when we do return, we're going to find out if it will be a match point situation for Legacy to take, or if Order can go for the reverse sweep.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.